In this video, we're going to break down your backside 540 to figure out why you're not able to grab in between your bindings and how to change it so you can not only grab in between your bindings, but you can start hitting any grab you want. Because the good news is your back five is really close. You have a lot of amazing aspects here. Specifically, I really like your setup carve. You're nice and patient transitioning from the heels to the toes with very minimal sideways momentum. This is letting you hold your toe edge for a nice long period of time, and you're getting a good takeoff with very minimal drift. So in this way, your backside 540 actually works better than mine. That said, there's a few very minor changes you're making versus me that are causing you to not be able to grab in between your bindings and not get complete control coming into the landing. The main issue isn't going to be this windup, this snap, because this all looks really good. If we go and compare our takeoffs, we can see we both have that straight, tall upper body, lean forward a little bit, and that's where this cork's coming from. And this is completely okay on a 540 because you just want to go and sync up your takeoff with your landing. A little bit of lean forward corkiness actually makes this trick easier and more styly. So this lean forward motion isn't actually a problem on this trick. That said, you're leaning a little bit more than you really want to be. You can see that as you're throwing, your front hand is pointed down towards the snow, where mine would be pointed down towards the snow, but I have it lifting up a little bit. This is just going to keep my axis of rotation a little bit more flat and going to make it so I'm not going and having my rotational energy be sent downwards. Instead, it's going to be sent across, but with this lean position. So that's why my cork is more consistent and smooth and less drastic. And that's also why it lines up perfect for the cork to spin ratio. And that's simply the change of making sure that I'm not going and throwing down towards the snow. Instead, even though my upper body is angled forwards, I'm going and keeping my arm up so that when I rotate, it rotates through. So that's one small change you can make in order to make it so your rotation is easier to control and spot. If we go and really zoom in here, we can also see that your shoulder is sort of tucking towards your chin a little bit. You really want to just relax the shoulder, have your shoulders a little more squared. That's going to keep them further out and make it so it doesn't drop as much. So on the takeoff here, everything looks really good. All you need to do is make sure this hand isn't going and throwing down quite as much. Keep this throw a little bit more angular and keep your shoulders a little more relaxed and squared off. And that's going to really help give you a bit less of a cork, what's going to make it way easier to go and hit the grab. Your main issue that's happening here is reaching for the grab too soon. So as soon as you go and finish your snap off a takeoff, you immediately try to bring your legs up to your hand. You really want this first initial part of your spin to go and bring your body back together. So you can see right here, you're going and throwing, and as soon as your tail leaves the takeoff, you start lifting that back foot, angling your board. And that's making it so your board's getting completely vertical in the air. So your body's leaned on a less corked axis, but your board's completely 90 at its maximum cork axis. If your board started being any more angled than this, it'd start counting as a flip. That said, our body positions are relatively similar. That's a great indication that you're actually going and kicking up your legs and bringing your board to your hand. Whenever you're grabbing, you really want to let your board naturally come to your hand instead of trying to go and reach for it and bring it to you. Because as you go and get a snap and bring your core tight, you'll naturally be in a bent enough position to be able to hit any grab you want. The reason why these two very minor mistakes are so costly is because it's making it so you're corking more than you're spinning. And that's why right here, you're finished your cork, you're back to flat, but you still have a 180 to rotate, and that's making it so you have to go and stretch out and fight in order to not go and over rotate your cork. And that's where this tail heavy landing's coming from. And it's just as simple as if you're not on a consistent axis of rotation in the air, it's going to be a lot harder to get a solid grab because you're going to be needing to make adjustments and you're not going to be in full control. So what we need to do in order to get you grabbing more casually is two things. First, just a little more casual off the takeoff. Make sure that you're not going and dipping your arm down. And then more patient on The grab, you don't want to be throwing your legs up to you. Grabbing around here would be plenty soon, and that's going to give you a lot stronger of a platform to go and hit this grab in a controlled, smooth way. So, how do we go and make this change? The best thing you could ever do if you're riding right now is don't grab. Your problems here are mostly happening from wanting to grab too soon. So you going and adding that little extra drop in the shoulder is because you're trying to go and lift your hand to your board. If we go and really zoom it in here, we can see that you're going and dropping the shoulder, immediately going and trying to lift your back arm. If you're lifting your back arm, what it's going to do is tilt your shoulder up as this one tilts down, causing that hand to be thrown down. And the reason why this shoulder is tilting up so soon is because it's immediately going down towards that grab. So see how when you're going and throwing your spin, you're naturally going and having your board get brought up to this hand extended position. So this is basically reaching for the grab, but at a very high level. What you want to be doing, if we go and highlight my back five here, is you can see that I fully snap the spin, and then I bring my legs in tight together, and then I hit the grab closer to 270 instead of closer to 180. But you can grab a little bit sooner, a little bit later. That's not what's a big deal. What's a big deal is making sure that you're patient enough to let your legs come up to your hand and you're not reaching for it. Anytime you go and reach for a grab, it's going to be impossible to really go and get in between the bindings or get it how you want to. Just because you're going and throwing off the tilt of your hips, the tilt of your upper body, and losing that stacked position. So that's why how you're going to be able to fix this fastest and most efficient way is just not grabbing. These problems are happening from grabs. If you go and stop grabbing, you'll get more control in this trick and then you'll be able to start adding any grab you want. Because that's the secret to grabbing a backside 540. It's being able to do the trick perfectly without a grab. Then you can hit any grab you want. Stale fishes, mutes, nose grabs, they all don't impact your axis of rotation very much, especially on a trick as versatile as a backside 540, you can get really playful for it. But you need to get out of the habit of going and immediately trying to bring your board into a grab position because that's just doing a lot to throw you off tilt, making it so you're corking too much and not able to be in control for the whole trick. So recap, uh, I would go and first wind up a little bit later. See how you're fully wound up before you're at the lip of the jump? This is just going to make it harder to stay tall and straight, and that's going to add to you going and leaning forward and breaking at the waist a little bit. A little bit of this lean forward is nice because it'll put you on a natural cork, but if you're doing it, you need to make sure that you're not going and dropping this shoulder and lifting this shoulder. You should be trying to keep your arms coming up and rotating through that axis of rotation. Don't let your arm fall down towards your side. Next, let the rotation come around smoothly to you. Not trying to go and reach for that grab, but instead just bringing your core together and keeping everything tight. This will go and keep you on a flatter plane of axis, making it easier to hold the spot and hold a constant tightness in the core, what's going to make the rotation come around a lot more. This is only possible if your axis of rotation is right, because that's really the main thing that's going to make you uncomfortable in the air right now, and that's the fact that your cork to spin ratio is a little bit off because of that takeoff and bringing the board up. So go, be patient on that takeoff, delay that snap a little bit, and let that board come up to you naturally, and start without grabbing. And once you go and get that unlock, you'll be able to hit any grab you want anytime.